Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm sharing 4 different healthy dinner recipes that are going to be perfect for the fall time. If you like really simple, quick and easy recipes, definitely make sure you are subscribed. But let's go ahead and get into all of these dinner ideas. For this first dinner, I'm making a marinated grilled chicken. Now this is one that we've been making a ton lately. It's really good for both the summer and the fall, but we have been loving it. It's really simple and easy. The marinade is really easy to put together and it's just delicious. We especially love it for like warming up for lunches and stuff throughout the week. So I'm starting off by making the marinade. This is half a cup of olive oil, a quarter cup of balsamic vinegar, 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, or I actually used coconut aminos this time, a 1/3 cup of honey, about 1 lime or a couple tablespoons of the juice, and then 1 teaspoon of either regular mustard or Dijon mustard, 4 cloves of garlic. I used about a tablespoon of dried parsley, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper. I will have this full recipe linked down below. You can use it for all different kinds of chicken. I love to use it for chicken breasts that are cut in half, so they're just really nice and thin, but you can use this for drumsticks, chicken thighs, all kinds of chicken. This works really good for. Give that a mix, and this is the perfect marinade. So like I mentioned, you can really use this marinade for any type of chicken. I had already prepped mine ahead of time, so these are just chicken breasts that I cut in half lengthwise, so they're really nice and thin. That's my favorite way to grill chicken breasts. They're just really easy to cook on the grill, and they're perfect that way. So if you're gonna do chicken breasts, I would definitely recommend cutting them in half so they're really nice and thin, and then you're just gonna let this soak for like at least 4 hours. You can do it overnight if you want to, but I usually let it soak for about 4 to 5 hours. This is what the chicken looks like after it had been marinating for a couple of hours, and now we are ready to throw it on the grill. So my husband is always the one who does the grilling in our house, so he just throws these on over really low heat, and I think he says he cooks them for about 5 to 7 minutes per side. You can see he adds on some extra marinade on there for some extra flavor, and these end up really juicy and delicious. But yeah, I think he said he only cooks them for like 5 to 7 minutes per side. Of course, you want to make sure that the internal temp reaches 165 degrees, and you should be good to go. But we seriously love these. They're super juicy and delicious, full of flavor. I definitely recommend this recipe. Now for this next dinner, I'm going to be making some baked salmon with a veggie orzo pasta. Again, super easy and quick dinner, also pretty healthy. So here I'm just starting off with 4 pieces of some salmon. Mine was frozen. I do prefer to have it thawed out first, but I just added a little extra time to the cooking and it was totally fine. And then for seasonings and oil, I keep it really simple. I just brush each side with some olive oil, a little bit of paprika, garlic powder, salt and pepper, and then I flip it over and do the same thing. And don't worry, I'm not touching the fish and then touching the seasonings. If you notice, I do use opposite hands for both of those things. That's a little tip when you're cooking, makes it a little bit easier so you're not constantly washing your hands. Try and dedicate one hand to the raw meat and one hand to the seasoning. But this is all I'm doing for my salmon to keep it really simple. And then I just baked this in a 375 degree oven for I think it was right around like 15 to 20 minutes. Once that salmon gets really nice and flaky, you know that it's done and you're good to go. And now we are moving on to that veggie and orzo pasta. So this is just something that I throw together with veggies that we have left over. So here I have a pepper. I believe on this night I added an onion and some spinach in there just to keep it really simple, but I'm dicing up the pepper and the onion into some pretty small pieces. And then into my pot of boiling water, I'm just adding in a little bit of this chicken bouillon. I always like to have a little bit of extra flavor when I'm making an orzo pasta, so this just adds that little bit of extra flavor in there. And then I'm adding in probably about half a box of the orzo pasta. Of course, adjust that according to your family size, but I'm just gonna get that boiling. And then in my other pan here, I'm just adding in a little bit of olive oil along with my peppers and my onions. And I'm just gonna saute those up for probably like 4 or 5 minutes until they get nice and soft. I do like to add just a little bit of salt and pepper directly to the peppers and the onions just for a little bit of flavor. I really like to layer the flavors in this dish with seasonings. Once those are all cooked up, I'm adding in my minced garlic and just letting that cook for another minute or so until that garlic is nice and fragrant. So once my orzo is completely cooked through, I'm just draining that off, and then I'm gonna add it right into the skillet with the rest of my veggies, mixing that in a little bit, and then I'm also gonna be adding in some spinach. This is totally optional. I always like to fill this up with veggies. I love the veggies with the orzo. I think it's super good, but I just added in a couple handfuls of some spinach, and I'm kind of breaking that up. And then I'm just gonna let this steam in there for a couple of minutes, put the lid on, and then I'll be ready to season it. Now when it comes to seasoning this dish, I like to keep it very, very simple. I'm just adding in some lemon juice. You can use fresh, that's best. And then I just add in paprika, salt, pepper. You can add garlic powder if you want. And all of that is just to taste. You can add more or less, whatever you prefer. But this is one of our favorites. It's really good served on the side of salmon or really any other type of meat. Really, really simple and easy to put together. For this next dinner, I'm making some sheet pan veggies with sausage. This is one of our go-to recipes on a busy weeknight. We always have leftover veggies that need to get used up. That's what I was doing on this night, using them up before they went bad. I had prepped a lot of this produce before, so a lot of it was cut up, like my broccoli and my cauliflower. So I cut up a red pepper as well, some zucchini I sliced up, as well as some carrots there. And I'm just adding all of that into a bowl. You can really use whatever veggies that you want, but that's just my favorite combination. And then I always like to add an onion in there as well, but I'm just chopping all of these up into some bite-sized pieces. And then for the sausage, I'm using a Polish sausage. This is actually a venison Polish sausage, but you can use whatever you have on hand and it's gonna be perfect. Then for seasoning, I'm just adding in a little bit of olive oil, probably like a couple of tablespoons, and I'm just tossing that in before adding in my seasonings. Again, I like to keep the seasonings super simple here, but you can really tweak it to whatever your family likes. For just a really mild seasoning that still has a lot of flavor, I add in about 1.5 teaspoons of paprika, a teaspoon of chili powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder, onion powder, probably about a teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of black pepper. So I would say add about a teaspoon of each, and you can always tweak the seasonings a little bit later on, and then I'm just tossing all of that together. For this dinner, I'm using my largest sheet pan, and I'm just drizzling on a little bit more olive oil and spreading that out. You could also use the spray olive oil here if you want to. And then I'm just gonna dump all of those veggies and sausage on there, spread them in an even layer, and I'm just gonna bake this in about a 375-degree oven for, I would say, around like 30 minutes, give or take a little bit. And I do also like to add a little bit of extra salt, just sprinkled across the top for some extra flavor. This is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. It's really good. You really just cook the veggies until you reach the desired doneness for your family. For this next dinner, I'm making an Italian sausage tortellini. Again, one of our favorites. We love this. It's probably not as healthy as the other recipes, but it's definitely really good comfort food, and it's not totally bad for you. So this is 1 pound of some ground sausage, and then I'm adding in about a cup of some white onions, and I'm just cooking those up until they are translucent in color. And then I'm adding in a few cloves of minced garlic and letting those cook for another minute or so. Now for the sauce here, I'm adding in 3/4 cup of chicken broth, 1 can of petite diced tomatoes, and then I'm also adding in 1/2 cup of some half and half. You can also use heavy cream here if you want to. And then I'm also adding in some tortellini. So the recipe calls for 9 ounces, but I definitely would say I added a little bit more here. I would say I added probably like 12 to 13 ounces of the tortellini. And I'm just gonna let this simmer on low for about 15 minutes until all of my tortellini is cooked through. I'm adding a little bit more salt and pepper to taste. You're just gonna add that to taste here. Sorry, my son moved the camera, hence why it moved, and I didn't even realize it right away. Giving that a good mix together, and then I'm adding in the fresh spinach to let that wilt for a couple of minutes. After the spinach is all wilted and cooked, I'm just adding in some mozzarella cheese, stirring that in there until it's all melted, and then this is done. This was a really good dinner, simple and easy to put together. I did serve it with a little bit of microgreens on top for some extra nutrition, but that was our dinner on this night. Well, that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope that you all enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more really quick and easy recipes on my channel, as well as like crockpot dinners and other food-related content. But that is going to be it for today's video. I will catch you all in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.